Today I have a tip for how to keep your stamps from getting discolored, at least to an extent. It's not avoidable completely when you're using photopolymer stamps, but I found a way to kind of make them stay looking newer longer. So I'll show you what I mean. When we use dark colors, especially reds and purples like I did with this stamp, it gets discolored. And some of that is unavoidable. But I found that my other stamps get discolored as well, as you can see here, and even on some of the sentiments where I didn't necessarily use red or purple. So this is what I have found works for me to keep them from getting discolored. So I'm going to bring in my Azure Afternoon ink pad, and I'm going to ink it up, and we're going to pretend that I've stamped. I've got a scrap here. Actually, I've got some other things stamped on it, and I'm going to use that later. So now there's still ink left over on my stamp. So one thing that you want to do is have a piece of grid paper handy that you can stamp off to get as much of the ink off as possible before you actually go to clean it. So now I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Scrub, and this is the wet side, and I do a couple of things. I try to keep the reds and purples on one side, although I'm going to be honest, I just started doing this recently and I don't always remember, and then the other colors on the other side. Because what I have found is that when you clean a stamp in ink that has red or purple on the Stampin' Scrub, it picks up that color. So if we avoid that, then we avoid picking up the color. So those are my tips. Those are ways that you can avoid discoloring your stamps as much as possible. Stamp off on a scrap before you use your Stampin' Scrub, because that puts less ink in the Stampin' Scrub to be able to transfer to your stamps. And that is especially true. You especially want to do that with dark colors, and especially the reds and purples. You're going to give it a good scrub and clean it on your Stampin' Scrub, and then you will be good to go for the next time. And I will show you too that even though your stamps are, whoops, that goes in here, are discolored or stained with the ink, it doesn't affect the use of them with lighter colors. So I'm going to show you what I mean here too. This, I use Berry Burst. I've used it quite a bit, and actually all of these I've used quite a bit, and you can see they're not very stained. So I think the tip works. But what I do want to show is that even though they are stained, you can still use a light color like Lemon Lolly, and that stain won't transfer. So I've got another scrap of white, and I'm just going to stamp right on there to show you that even though it looks orangey, when it stamps, it's going to be the Lemon Lolly. So the stain does not affect the use of the stamp, so you really don't have to worry about that. I'm going to stamp off on my scrap, then clean the stamp and dry it, and it will be good as new. Hope those tips help you. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping.